My fiancé announced, "I'm not signing a prenup. You either trust me or it's over." I said, "You're right." Then I canceled the wedding that night. 72 hours later, she was on social media begging me back. She said it like she was daring me to flinch. "I'm not signing a prenup. You either trust me or it's over." It wasn't a discussion. It wasn't concern. It was a challenge, a power play dressed up as romantic principle. And I just stared at her, quiet, calm, processing what she'd really said. "Trust me, or lose me." I smiled. Not because I was agreeing, but because in that moment, everything became crystal clear. Love wasn't enough. Not when respect, communication, and common sense were being treated like betrayal. So I said, "You're right." Then I stood up, left the restaurant early, and made the first of many calls that night. The wedding canceled. The venue done. The caterers not needed. The relationship already over. She just didn't know it yet. And while she thought I'd come running back, I was quietly moving on. 72 hours later, my phone blew up, but not from her. From friends sending me screenshots of her crying on Instagram Live, posting dramatic captions like, "Sometimes love just slips away." She didn't expect silence. And that silence, it echoed louder than any vows she never got to say. It was supposed to be a casual dinner. Wine, soft music, final touches on wedding planning. We were just days away from the big day. The excitement should have been electric. But instead, she set her fork down, looked me in the eye, and dropped a bomb I never saw coming. "I'm not signing a prenup. You either trust me or it's over." There was no lead-up. No gentle tone. Just a sudden, cold ultimatum dropped in the middle of our engagement like a grenade. For a moment, I genuinely thought she was joking. But the look in her eyes said otherwise. She was dead serious. There was no discussion, no attempt to understand my perspective. Just a line drawn in the sand. I asked her carefully why she was so against it. She snapped back, "If you're planning for divorce, then we're already doomed." But I wasn't planning for divorce. I was planning to protect both of us, just in case. That didn't matter to her. She didn't want compromise. She wanted control. That one sentence exposed everything. That she didn't trust me to protect us. That she didn't want to build together. She wanted to own it all. And most of all, it revealed the truth I had been too blind to see. She wasn't marrying me. She was marrying what I could provide. After she said those words, "You either trust me or it's over," I sat there stunned, not because I was scared of losing her, but because I suddenly realized what her version of trust really meant. To her, trust meant surrender. Blind agreement. No questions asked. When I gently explained that a prenup wasn't about expecting divorce but protecting what we both had, she rolled her eyes and said, "If you need paperwork to feel secure, then you don't really love me." That line hit harder than I expected. Not because it was true, but because it showed how easily she weaponized emotion to win an argument. Her voice got sharper. "So what? You don't think I'd be fair if something happened? You think I'd come after your money?" She was offended at a scenario she had no problem threatening me with minutes earlier. It wasn't about love for her, it was about leverage. She didn't want mutual respect. She wanted my silence. She wanted me to let her have control over everything. Emotionally, financially, legally, all under the name of trust. But the moment someone tells you trust means giving up your voice, it's not trust. It's submission. And that's not what marriage is built on. That's what control is built on. I could have argued. I could have listed the logical reasons for the prenup, talked about protecting both our futures, reminded her of the assets I worked years to build, but I didn't. Because I realized something mid-conversation. No matter what I said, she didn't want understanding. She wanted compliance. So I didn't argue. I decided. I looked at her as she crossed her arms and waited for me to defend myself, to prove my love by caving. But I didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I let her speak, let her lecture, let her try to guilt me into backing down. And all the while, I was silently packing up the illusion I'd been living in. The illusion that we were on the same team. That we were building something real. Because someone who loves you doesn't present ultimatums. They present options. They listen. They work with you, not over you. As she went on about how insulting the prenup was, I just watched her, seeing for the first time how entitled she truly was. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about control disguised as principle. So I made a different kind of vow to myself, right then and there. I would not marry someone who treats partnership like a threat. And that decision, made in silence, was louder than anything I could have said. That night, after she stormed out of the restaurant, I sat in my car for 10 minutes. Not crying, not shaking, just still, numb. And then, peaceful. Like a weight had been lifted off my chest. The decision was made. There was no debate left. No fixing. No compromise. Just clarity. I drove home, opened my laptop, and started making the calls. First the venue. Then the caterer. The florist. The photographer. Every conversation started the same. Hi, I need to cancel our booking. Some asked if everything was okay. Others didn't. I didn't offer explanations. Just sent them the necessary forms and closed the tabs one by one. With every cancellation, I felt lighter. The thousands of dollars I'd spent, I didn't even flinch. Because I realized something, the real cost of the wedding wasn't money, it was me. My peace. My self-respect. My future tied to someone who saw love as a contract she could rip up if it didn't serve her. I texted my family next. Short and simple. The wedding's off. I'll explain later. I'm okay. And I was. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I was truly okay. Canceling the wedding didn't feel like a loss. It felt like cutting loose an anchor I didn't even realize was dragging me down. She expected a fight. She was waiting for the follow-up call, the frantic texts, the emotional breakdown, something. Anything. But what she got instead was absolute, brutal silence. No response. No confrontation. No drama. Just nothing. And that's what broke her. Because silence is the one thing people like her don't know how to handle. She was used to control through chaos. Yelling, crying, threats wrapped as honesty. She wanted me to come running, to beg her to reconsider, to chase the version of her I once loved. But I didn't. I had already said everything I needed to the moment I said, "You're right." She texted once. "Are you seriously canceling everything over a disagreement?" Then again. "I didn't mean it like that." Then the calls started, which I let ring until they died out. Every second I stayed quiet, she unraveled a little more. I know because mutual friends told me. Said she was panicking. Said she kept asking, why isn't he even trying to talk? But that was the point. My silence wasn't passive. It was intentional. It was the wall that protected me from ever falling back into her manipulation. And for someone who built power through noise, my silence was the loudest message she'd ever received. It started with a quote. She posted a black and white image of a broken heart with the words, "Sometimes, love isn't enough." No explanation. No tags. Just vague enough to stir sympathy. Subtle enough to keep her pride. I saw it. Ignored it. But the next post? That's when the mask started to slip. A video, shaky, clearly filmed in her bedroom, eyes red, voice trembling. She talked about how things don't always go as planned, how people give up too easily, how pain teaches you who really matters. Comments started rolling in immediately. "You deserve better." "He'll come around." "You're so strong." I didn't respond. Then came the TikTok. More emotional. More performative. Crying, soft music in the background, long captions about heartbreak, and learning to let go of someone who won't fight for you. That's when it became obvious. This wasn't grief. This was damage control. She wasn't mourning me. She was mourning the audience she thought she had. And the more she posted, the more desperate it looked. Because nothing screams regret louder than someone performing for the sympathy of strangers, while the one person they truly lost doesn't even watch anymore. At first, her posts were flooded with sympathy, crying emojis, men are trash comments, and messages from distant acquaintances offering virtual hugs. But the internet moves fast, and it doesn't always stay loyal to the narrative someone tries to force. It started with subtle pushback. A comment here and there, there's always two sides. Seems like there's more to the story. Then someone, probably one of my friends, dropped a bombshell under her tearful video. Didn't you give him an ultimatum over a prenup and then get mad when he left? That comment got likes, then screenshots, then traction. People started asking questions, digging. One old post of hers surfaced, a smug caption from months ago, "Build your own empire, never share the throne." Others found her bragging about being the one in control in relationships. Suddenly, she wasn't the heartbroken victim. She was the manipulator whose plan had backfired. Her follower count dropped. Sympathy turned to silence. Even her stories started getting fewer views. The internet didn't buy her act. Because when people sensed the truth, that she pushed too hard, lost too much, and blamed everyone but herself, they stopped listening. And watching her carefully crafted victim role collapse? That was the closure I didn't even have to ask for. In the beginning, her friends were loud, commenting, liking, reposting her dramatic captions about healing and loss. They hyped her up when she posted vague shade. Some even unfollowed me. I expected it. That's what loyalty looks like, until the truth leaks. Then the silence started. One by one, the story views slowed. The hashtags stopped. The comments dried up. No more public cheering, no more subtle attacks on me. Just digital quiet. It wasn't because they'd taken my side, it was because they saw what I saw now. Her narrative didn't hold water. Her pride had become a performance, and even her inner circle was starting to squirm. Then came the message from her cousin. Short, cautious, "Hey, I don't want to get in the middle, but I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve that." A day later, her brother messaged too. "I had no idea it went down like that. Just so you know, not all of us agree with how she handled things." And then, the final shift, her mother. A long, emotional message about disappointment, regret, and not raising her that way. I never replied. I didn't need to. When her own family started reaching out, I knew she wasn't just losing me. She was losing the echo chamber she used to hide behind. Everyone expected me to be devastated. Friends, co-workers, even my own family. They tiptoed around me, spoke in hushed tones, asked softly, "Are you okay?" But the truth was, I was fine. Better than fine. I was relieved. Relieved that I hadn't walked into a marriage built on emotional blackmail. Relieved that I saw her true colors before I said, "I do." Relieved that I trusted my gut when she drew that line in the sand and called it love. For weeks leading up to the wedding, I'd felt something off. Small moments, subtle power plays, passive-aggressive digs. I ignored them, chalked it up to stress. But that ultimatum, that moment at dinner when she tried to disguise control as commitment, that was the clarity I didn't know I'd been waiting for. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't spiral. I slept better, breathed easier, ate like I had my appetite back. Because I wasn't grieving the loss of love. I was celebrating the escape from illusion. She thought I'd crumble. But peace doesn't look like tears. It looks like waking up and realizing you dodged the kind of storm that would have drowned you. While she poured her heartbreak into captions and crying videos, I stayed quiet, not out of pride, but because I no longer needed the world to understand my side. She begged online. I rebuilt offline. Every day, she was on social media, sharing old pictures of us, writing, "Healing isn't linear," tagging therapy quotes, even posting throwbacks like they were memories worth saving. But behind every post, I saw desperation. She wasn't trying to heal. She was trying to rewind time. Meanwhile, I was booking a solo trip. Cleaning out the closet. updating my playlists, reconnecting with old friends. I started working out again, eating better, sleeping better, laughing more. Life didn't just go on, it got better. The calls stopped. The texts slowed. Her online followers moved on. And one night, while scrolling, I realized something powerful. She hadn't moved on, because she hadn't grown. But I had. She thought love meant possession. I learned love means peace. And in the end, while she was busy trying to go viral with pain she caused herself, I was living quietly, freely, fully, in a life she no longer had access to. And that silence was louder than any post she ever made.